The last big area is called motivating the elephant. And this is my favorite one, I have to say. I mean, they're all really important, but I think you can get a lot of leverage with this one. And this is appealing to emotions and simplifying change on a big picture level. Their three bullet points are find the feeling, shrink the change, and grow your people. And so here's some tipping points. So Kathy, go ahead and add your tipping point.
So we all know the principals have hard job, right? And oftentimes they're just going around doing nothing but putting out fires, and they're always moving. I rarely found a principal in their office. So one of the things I did is I would walk with the principal. I'd see them walking, and I know that they're heading someplace, and I'd say to them, "Do you have 30 seconds for a positive?" Okay, that's your statement, you guys. 30 seconds for a positive, because that's what. And they would be like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And I'm just going to walk with you. And I'm like, I'll say so and so, and maybe I'd have like their UPAR scores, their Universal Protocol for Accommodation Reading. It's a very nice graph that shows, that if a student can understand at what grade level, and it's a very quick pictorial kind of thing. And they knew that I always kind of had them in my pocket, or I was there to assess a student and I quickly printed it out and I would walk with them and I'm like, look, so and so, he can understand grade level. Excuse me, he can understand at grade level or two or three grade levels above. And they'd be like, wow, wow. And I'm like, yeah. And he wanted to take it home and put it on his refrigerator. And I'm like, have a really good day. This kid did really good. We made a difference today. And that was it. And I walked away because I know they had other things. But then the next time that principal saw me, they were like, you got a positive? You got something good? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So making those things like that, and it stuck because that I got a positive was my stickiness kind of a thing. I made something stick with them when they saw me. It wasn't, oh, she's going to ask me for a computer. She's going to ask me for something else. No, I had a really good thing to say to them. And think about the stickiness. Think about like if I said to you, what has wings or dun dun has wings, you're all going to say Red Bull, right? Because those things, those jingle kind of things, or we'll leave the light on, Motel 6, right? The rainbow, give us the rainbow, Skittles. Those things kind of stick with us. So think about things that have stickiness to it. Like another thing that stuck with the kids for me too is I used to say to them, I don't care if you're green with purple stripes. I'm going to stick with you and we're going to make whatever we need to do make work and you're going to be successful at it. And the kids got to saying that. They're like, there's Mrs. White, it's green with purple stripes today. And I'm like, yeah, you got that right. But so things that we repeat, do you remember my story from the beginning about John? John was told in the beginning that he's like, teacher told me if I can't spell it, I can't write it. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to change that. So I made a different thing stick to him. But keep those little tipping points and talk to those people who need to hear that. Or, as we go by in the hallway, if a student has got their voice to text out, just give them a thumbs up as you're walking by. Those nonverbals. Those are the things that can make a huge difference. Walk with your principals on very simple, kind of easy things. So and so did great today. And that's all you got to say. And just walk on. And it made huge differences. They look forward to seeing me because they knew I had something positive to say.
Think about how much happens in our buildings, that or our district, like that's what administrators hear is all the negatives. So no, they are desperate for that. So my examples too are bringing it to school board meetings. Like, why don't like every year the school board allocates money for you and they get no feedback. So bring that bright spot, honor that person. Who are your bright spots? By bringing them to board to highlight them, but them to tell the story. And that could be your teachers, it could be your students, it could be both. One of my favoriteest one, and this is going to put two things together, is we often put our teachers first and we wait for change. And that is probably the biggest mistake I think we've made in my 35 years of doing assistive technology is we start with the teachers. And so I think we really need to shift that. And the reason is assistive technology is supposed to be used every day by the students who use it every day. And if we put them more at the beginning. So my example of this, we were doing this in elementary, third, fourth, and fifth grade. I had a principal who totally embraced this, and she lost the AT person at that school. And she said, what am I going to do next year? And I said, well, your fourth graders are going to be fifth graders. Your third graders are going to be fourth graders. I think you have a whole cadre of trainers. Our teachers kind of come and go, but our students are there every day. We had Gavin, whose parents moved from one district to the next, same issues. And the principal called Gavin's mom one day and said, I need Gavin to come into school early. And the mom's like, what did he do wrong? And it was like, no, Gavin needs to train our teachers. And I think our teachers see some of this technology as really hard because they have to think, like, let's be fair to a teacher. They're not only like learning that technology, they're thinking about how do I incorporate it in my lesson plan? How do I logistically make it available? When we train the students right alongside of our teachers, all of that goes away. And then they do what they're good at. Like, here's my lesson plan. Like, I want them to spend more time thinking about how to integrate it into their lesson plan and building those habits than being the technology expert. So to me, it's most magical when we really empower students. And here's the ultimate smash up. One of my districts brought the students to a district meeting and trained the board members, the superintendent, all the principals on the technology. And the superintendent was, chatting that out and social media, putting it out through social media. But like, what a way to do systemic change. They saw the power of it. They were thanked for the investment they made, and they saw what our students can do. And I love when we do it with our elementary students because it kind of makes sense that our high school students should be doing this. It kind of shifts people's minds when you do it with the littlest guys. So those are my examples of keeping it small, making it emotional. I think what hopefully you've heard about this, the more you can be focused on the positive. I will tell you, you will never be a 10. I hate to tell you, and I hate to break that news to you, and that's not very motivating. But if you understand that, then what you can do is every year reflect on what you did do and celebrate that because that's what matters. And we know every year we have new teachers. Even if we got to be a 10, we'd have a bunch of new teachers and we'd be starting over. So we have to see this as a like always in process and really focusing on those positive and replicating all the positive and keeping it super simple. So let's take a moment to reflect of how can you make this more emotional? What were some of the ideas that really resonated with you here that you can take people on? And then I'm going to give you one more example of putting it all together. And I'm not seeing the chat window, so sorry if any, Kathy or Stacy, if you want to shout out any good reflections
Yep.
here. Right.
Oh, reach out with a positive. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah. I'm so glad that stuck with you guys because it really did make a huge difference.
Yeah. And the word, like, I like the word positives. I like the word bright spots. Like, who doesn't want to have bright spots in their schools? Like, so yes, everyone's going to go with the positives too. So, and just walk alongside of everyone, walk along that side of that teacher. I think somebody said, I have a speech path who's on fire and making it happen. Put her in front of him or her, that speech path in front of other people. Let's honor that person for being such an innovator, but also let them help teach other people. And, maybe what you can do is get some coverage for their classroom while they go out and spread that good word.
Another one came in. I really like the example of empowering the students to teach other adults in the district. Yeah, that does so work because you think about it. We've told them or they've been told, or they're assimilated, however you want to put it. I'm dumb, I can't, I can't, I can't. We're changing that. We're tipping that point and saying, you can, you can, you can, and you can do more. Like my
I think,
story of John, he became by the way, he became a packaging engineer. So he's
well,
doing great.
and think about AT services. When we have our students training other people, what are the AT services we're providing for that student? What are the skills they're developing? They're developing the skills of advocate, of advocating for their technology. And the kids who are most successful, remember when they leave us in K-12, they have to go to college and they have to ask for it. And they have to be able to describe it. When you go to higher ed, they will tell you the kids don't even, most students didn't know what technology they use. They didn't even know the name of it. So if our students are teaching it to others, they know the words to say, they can verbalize how it works for them. And to Kathy's part, most importantly, is we honor them and they look smart, and which they are. We know they don't only look smart, but people see a different side of them and they see their strengths. So great reflection, guys. I love it. And these are simple things like remember, our teachers are burnt out. Our students need to be engaged, and let's put them at the front and center. So I'm going to give you one more example of something that kind of pulls this all together, because again, you can do one thing and make it hit each of those three pieces, and that's where you get some big change. So this is something called Take a Minute. It was developed out of the Georgia Department of Ed. They needed to, again, increase usage of AT and get more access to accessible, increase usage of accessible educational materials. Sorry, too many acronyms. And so their goal, they have a goal, which again is part of our, was directing the writer, was for IEP teams. But their ultimate goal was to build the usage of AT and AEM. But their kind of short-term goal was they wanted every IEP team to discuss for just 1 minute in the special factors section about a student's need for AT and AIM. Now we know we have AT should be considered an IEP, but it wasn't really happening. These are all the things they did. I'm not going to go through, but I want to just point out a couple of things. They trained building level administrators. They had quick guides. We're going to talk about the stickers. And they really held everybody accountable. And as you see, they also had goals. They did, and they had data. So they did a pre and post survey. So they're going to use data on this. So how does this take a minute? So basically you sit in an IP meeting and they remind people, take a minute at the special factors. So they told them exactly where it was. It was a repeatable process. That's what's great about an IP. It's a repeatable process. The special factors is in every IP, and they gave the structure, a simple structure of taking a minute. How did it direct the writer? It told everybody on the IP team that they needed to participate. It also told the admin of the expectations and the data that they were going to be collecting. It shaped the path. They made it so simple. 1 minute, that's all we're asking. Add a very predictable process that happens for every single IEP student. And it motivated the elephant. So this little sticker thing, what they did is as every person in that meeting talked, they gave them a sticker. So people walked out, and it seems so silly, but it just is that visual reminder about AT and AIM and the students needing it to remind the teachers to implement it. So I think like whatever you walk away with, if you just come up with one thing, like I'm going to do the positive. So where can I take that everywhere in my program? How do I take it to my board, to my supervisor, to the IT department? Like, keep in mind, like even if you're Kathy sitting in the IT department, what if you're the one who comes back every day and says, this is my positive for the day? You're going to change the culture of that IT department. So I want you all to take another minute, because if you don't do anything from this, I would love that you would take one thing, one little baby step, that simple thing that you can do, and then think about how you can use that throughout the rest of the school year to make some big change happen. And if you wouldn't mind, share that in the chat, because I think we would all love to hear what that looks like.
Ruth, there's a question in the chat too. Is the quick guide a public document we can find somewhere?
Yeah, did I give the link to that, Kathy?
I don't know if you did.
I bet, I bet if we just did take a minute, Georgia Department of Ed, we would find it. Let's just look quick.
And as she's looking at that, again, just think about what are, these weren't big district initiatives, okay? But it made a huge difference that we changed a few things here and there, and we became the tipping points, for things that happened. And it starts small, but we had some measurable data so that we could see what was going on. And as things, we could then graph it and show those things. And I too brought that stuff to our school board, but I brought it in a positive way. I think when we bring things in a negative way, it stops everybody and they just get their hackles up and you're done. Nope, I really, really, really want to get that out there in a positive way.
Here we go. Let me get this because this has the Take a Minute campaign and stories from this. So this will be great for everyone to have. Sorry, I didn't include that in there. Thanks for asking for that resource. Somebody's going to read The Tipping Point. Yay.
Good book.
Empowering the Students, a quick guide. Yep. We would love, I would bet, as you share your positives, make sure to include Kathy and Stacy. They can keep in mind also elevate these beautiful people who are doing amazing work in your district and your district. Like your district wants to be seen as a positive in the community and in the state. So let other people also tell your stories and share those. That's another way to keep that positive momentum going. So, all right, with that, our resources are here. You're welcome to see that. We have any
Can
questions?
you put the last slide up, please, Ruth? So it shows the survey.
Yep.
So if you could just take a second and complete our survey, we'd really appreciate that too. Thank you all for taking time today. We are here to help. Email Stacy and I. And I'm sure that Ruth would answer emails too. If there's anything that we can do, because that's the point of this. We're here to help each other, and let's move assistive technology forward in our state. So thanks, everybody.
You all are the positives because you're here today. So I just wanted to honor each and every person for, you probably gave up a lunch. You probably have done something to make this happen. So thank you for being the change and doing it in such a hard system to make change. But I really am confident that you guys will all together collectively think about it. If each of us did just something little from this, we'll make some big change. So thank you, everyone, and have a great holiday. Get that much needed rest.